It's time to get started. Welcome to the webinar, Reaching New Audiences Online. So my name is Connor Kelly. I'm the Local Giving Charity Training and Development Manager. I'll be delivering the webinar today. So just so you know, the outline of the session today is, well, reaching new audiences online. Why is social media important? How to identify some supporter common interests online. How to discover new online networks, how to drive engagement with the content that you put up online, how to convert online donors, and then some general information about local giving with time for some questions. Just so you know, the FSI, who are our partners with this webinar, will make this the slides available to everyone who takes part. So I think you have to fill in some feedback and then you get access to the slides. So you don't have to take down notes. You will be able to get access to the slide content. I'm also recording this webinar if you wanted to listen back. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to pop them in the chat on the bottom left-hand corner, and I'll get to them at the end of the webinar. Okay, so first things first, what is social media, and why is it important? Well, we went to the Oxford Dictionary and got some definitions just to sort of begin this conversation. Social media obviously is websites and applications that enable users to create and share content via a sort of social network. So that's your websites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And social networking is the use of those websites and applications to interact with other users or to find people with similar interests to one's own. So for purposes of this webinar, for small and local charities, social media is an opportunity for you to connect with your local communities, connect with your supporters, connect with people who are interested in the work that you do, to share interesting content with those people, get them interested in what you do, get them motivated to try and make a donation or to get more involved with what you do. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So it's currently the #1 reason why people use the internet, social media and social networking. Over 38 million active social media users in the UK as of last year, so that's over 60% of the population. Over 50% use their mobile phones to access social media sites on the go, so that's people sitting on buses, trains, on their lunch breaks, accessing social media platforms on the go. The average user spends over an hour and 29 minutes every day, or 50% of their total time online, accessing sites like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And there's some significant growth in the older generations using social media over the last 5 years. So that's something that we've seen in social media usage, older demographics starting to use social media platforms. But it's also something that we've looked into when it comes to donations made online, and we found that there isn't a lot of disparity in the demographic of the type of person who will donate online. Older people are almost as likely as younger people to donate online. So if you're coming from a charity or an organization with a sort of older supporter base, that shouldn't be a problem with trying to get people to donate online. So what we're going to talk about today is taking your supporters on a supporter journey. And we like to break it down into 4 key steps, which you can see over on the right. And the sort of reasoning behind this is that it's not just about putting out a link and asking people to make a donation online. It's more about starting to think about your social media strategy as a way to increase the engagement that you have with your supporters and with your local community, so that when you get to the point of running a fundraising campaign, they're familiar with what you do, they're familiar with your social media sites, and they're able to make that donation. So it's about taking people on a journey. It's not just about getting, your £10 or £20 donation off them one time. It's about developing a strategy and taking your supporters on a journey through engagement with your organization online. So the 4 steps that we have are discover. So the supporter finds your Facebook page or follows you on Twitter. Engage. That's when they start responding or sharing interesting content that you might put out, and starting to interact with your social media site. Step 3 is invest. That's when you put out a call to action of making a donation, and they make an online donation to you for the first time. And that's at the end of the journey. The final step is endorse. So that's when they decide to tell their friends and family to make a donation too. Or it's when they sign up to your newsletter, or sign up to a direct debit, or sign up to be a fundraiser for you in future. It's that final step of becoming not just someone who donates money, but someone who is actively a part of your fundraising team and your fundraising strategy online. So first things first, how to identify supporters' common interests. How do you entice your supporters to your social media platforms? So first things first, it's worth thinking about the type of people that you're trying to attract. Age, hobbies, interests, the level of engagement with your organization. Try and have a think about the type of person that you think is interested in your organization and would get interested online. So it might be, if you're a local children's football club, the parents of the kids. If you're an after-school club for teenagers, it might be the teenagers and their families. If it's an organization that does community work in your project, it might be the sort of local community, your local town, your local region. So try and think about what is your average supporter, what interests them, what level of engagement do they have with your charity, what sort of things would they respond to on social media. So some things you can do to get to that point are think about sort of basic facts and behaviors, the relationship they have with your charity, what would motivate them to make a donation, or what would motivate them to get more involved, and what online networks do they use. So if you can think that example of being the coach of a local football team, you're trying to get the parents of the kids at the club to follow you on social media. They're most likely to follow you on Facebook, because most of them would have Facebook accounts, or maybe even LinkedIn, because some of them might be professionals who have LinkedIn pages. And the motivation that they would need to make a donation is probably something to do with the football projects that you're running for their children. So all of the content that you are putting out there is going to be geared towards football, geared towards stuff that the club is doing with the kids, and your target audience is the parents. And every charity and every community group can do that. You can just have a think about, who are the people that I want to attract to my social media page, what's the best page to use, and what's the best way to reach out to people. I'm just seeing your message now, Samantha. That's really unfortunate. I was wondering what was happening there. Luckily, I am recording this webinar, so maybe we'll be able to make sure that other people get to it eventually. But welcome, thanks for joining. You haven't missed too much. We're just going through how to get people signed up to your Facebook and Twitter account. So that's sort of the first step. Next, how to discover new networks online. So how to sort of grow past that initial few people who will engage with your social media accounts and start to really spread the word wider. So a couple of things you can do. One trick we have is on Facebook, search for local groups or a similar cause you do through the Facebook search function. So look for groups, look for forums that are to do with your local area or with the issue that you address. So over on the left, we have a Facebook screenshot of Bethnal Green Group. So that's near where I live in London. By just searching Bethnal Green, I was able to find groups with hundreds of people who live and work in Bethnal Green. I've asked to join, I've contacted the administrator, and that's the perfect place to start posting information about your local community group if you work in an area like Bethnal Green. The same on the right is by searching for High Wycombe. You can see all the different organizations and groups and companies that are set up in Wycombe, which are perfect to start following and start tweeting at and start getting involved with, so that the wider area, wider communities start to respond and interact with the content that you're putting up. And you can do that for your local area. You can do that for your cause. So if it's homelessness, you can join forums set up to tackle homelessness. And it really can go in a couple of different ways. But I'd really encourage you to start thinking about the different forums and places and pages that you can interact with on Twitter and Facebook to try and get your message out wider and try and attract people to your Facebook page to start liking it, and to your Twitter page to start following it. Another trick is to use interesting content, hashtags, get in with National Awareness Days, and just sort of try and make sure that your social media content is really engaging for people when they first come across it. So first trick is to always include visual content. It's far more likely to be picked up upon by people. So always include photos or videos. You can get involved with interesting hashtags and things that are trending. So that first example, you can see a couple of hashtags that they've put in to try and spread the word. They've also tagged other organizations and other causes, including Local Giving, to try and up the amount of people that are going to see the post. Over on the right, you can see a charity getting involved with big organizations like the BBC and their National Awareness Day. So this is the PUDSI campaign that they run every year. And you can see how charities are sort of tacking on to bigger, larger online social media campaigns in order to get people interested and in order to drive people towards their own social media platforms. Another idea is to engage influencers. So an influencer on social media is someone who has a lot of reach, a lot of following, and can get your message out wider. So on the left we have Bright Light, Bright Light. He's a musician who actually tours with Elton John and has worked with Elton John a lot. He's a sort of Local Giving's influencer. He tends to tweet out and put up a lot of content for us whenever we have a big campaign. So just by making that connection with him, he's actually an old friend of someone who works at Local Giving, we were able to spread the word about some of the stuff that we're doing. Over on the right is a brilliant example of a group, the Happy Hippie Foundation, who put out loads of interesting content, loads of different appeals they were doing and projects they were doing. And it was actually picked up on by Miley Cyrus, someone obviously they'd never met. The pop star Miley Cyrus came across them because they had been putting up some interesting content and getting involved in national campaigns, interesting use of hashtags and the organizations that they were interacting with. Miley came across it and retweeted it. And I don't know if you can see there, but that post was actually retweeted something like 200 times and was liked or reacted to by 15,000 people. So it really does show the influence that social media influencer can have. So if you have a local celebrity or somebody who has a lot of social media following, ask them would they reshare or retweet your content. Ask them would they give you a hand next time you have a big campaign. If you're kind of stuck for ideas or you don't think that you have like that celebrity contact or someone you can reach out to, a good trick is to reach out to your local politicians, to your local MPs, your local councillors. Will have a lot of social media following. They'll be linked in with a lot of different news organizations and different influencers in your community. And because you're their constituent and you're an organization who helps the community in their area, they'll probably be quite receptive to the idea of sharing your content. So if you're stuck for ideas, a good place to start is your local councillors, your local MP. They're usually more than willing to give you a hand. So how to drive engagement online. So you've attracted people to your Facebook page or Twitter page, they've signed up, liked, and shared it, and now you're trying to get to engage with the content that you put up. So a couple of tricks is to make sure that all your social media platforms are linked together. Make sure your website has links to Twitter and Facebook. Make sure all your email signatures are include places where people can like your Facebook page or follow you on Twitter or visit your local giving page. And make sure that you're including these links in all your correspondence. So if you're sending out emails, if you're sending out newsletters, if you're putting it up on the website, make sure that you have the information about how people can get more in tune with your organization readily available. So make sure you have links to Facebook, Twitter, your YouTube account, anything you can, and make sure that that person isn't left sort of wondering, how can I find out more? And just try and create interesting content. You don't need to have a big budget. Authenticity and storytelling are the key ingredients here. So try and think about social media as a two-way conversation. Try and again go back to that typical person that you want to attract to your social media page and think, what would they find interesting? So that can be photos of the projects that you run. It could be an infographic of the different different achievements that you've done to date. It could be a video testimony from one of your service users. And if you're stuck for ideas, just look at what other organizations are doing. So look around other charities in your local area and see what they get up to. Have a search of charities in other cities and towns who might deal with a similar issue and see what they get up to. So if you're a homelessness charity in Sheffield, you don't know what sort of stuff to put up, look up homeless organizations in London and Manchester and Glasgow and Cardiff and see what they get up to and see, is it something that you can do as well, or is it something that you can take and turn into a new idea that will interest people in your local area. And just remember that it's not necessarily about the amount of people it reaches, it's the amount of people that engage with it. So don't worry if only 5 or 6 people retweet it. That's a good sign that you're on the right track, because that's 5 or 6 people who've gone and engaged with the content, read it, and then reshared it amongst their own networks. And that obviously has a knock-on effect of reaching more people. So don't obsess over the amount of people that'll just glance at it, the amount of followers you can get. Try and think about how much of a percentage of those people are actually actively following your page and getting involved. And that's a better indicator of success, because when it comes to a fundraising campaign, they're the sort of people who are most likely to get involved and make donations. And just remember that with social media, it's really easy for stakeholders to get involved. So make sure that you spread your social media accounts widely within your own existing network. So that could be making sure the trustees are following it, telling all the volunteers, telling all the staff members, telling all the service users. Make sure that all the sort of current network that you have are up to speed, and know that you have a Facebook page or a Twitter account and have liked it or followed it. Getting those people signed up is a good way to start, but also they're the types of people who tend to share the content, and if they're directly connected with your charity, then those networks that they have will also get involved, because they'll see their friend Sarah or their friend John, who works or volunteers at this charity, sharing information about it, and they'll be more inclined to follow you. So in terms of trying to come up with interesting content, these are just a couple of examples that we have picked out from other groups on local giving that we think are really creative. So the example on the left is one from Halifax Street Angels. They are a charity in Halifax that help homeless people. They give out food, they give out different packs and different resources to homeless people. And they've created an infographic where they talk about how many volunteer hours they did this week, how many people they've supported, how many glass bottles they picked up, how many hot drinks they handed out, how many pairs of shoes they handed out. So they spent a bit of time put together this infographic, and then once every week they just update the figures with the latest stats, so how many people they helped that week, how many cups of coffee they handed out that week, and then they share the infographic again. So every single person who follows their social media accounts gets a weekly update and manages to see the sort of growing story of what they do. They get updated with how many people they help, and they see that number growing, and they feel sort of up to date with what's going on at Halifax Street Angels. So that it doesn't take a lot of time. They probably spent a bit of time setting up that infographic, but after that, it's just updating the numbers once a week and sharing it out. So as you can see, that infographic, when we took the screenshot, had 33 people who had interacted with it and liked it. So it's just a really good example of a really easy way of keeping people up to date with what you do. You don't have to go exactly with what they did, but just hopefully it'll get you thinking of different ways you can update your supporters regularly on social media. The other thing to remember is that with social media, try and be sort of, outside the box with the content that you're putting up. Try and be friendly and fun, and make it easy for people to sort of get involved with. So a good example of this is a charity on Local Giving whose Twitter account is run by one of the volunteers, Owls, Murray, and all the content they put out is supposedly coming from Murray, and it usually includes photos of Murray and owl-related puns, and it's just a funny way of getting people interested with what they do online. So, it's just an example of sort of thinking outside the box, and what would people find amusing, what would people find engaging, and how can I twist that to work for my organization and for my charity or community group. So I'd really encourage you to follow Murray the Owl. It's very very amusing Twitter account. Other things you can do, just make sure that you're keeping everybody up to date with what you do. As I said, always include photos and videos if possible, with the permission of the people in them, of course. Visual content is far more likely to get a reaction on social media, so try and include it as much as possible. Another thing you can do if you're stuck for content is share news and share links to articles of what people in your network would find interesting. So you'll see this school sharing information about examinations and different things related to what they do in the media. So again, if you're a homelessness charity or mental health charity, keep up to what is going on in government, what's going on in your newspapers and your local newspapers, even better, and share that content out to your supporters. That's an excellent example of somebody who's interested in the work that you do, has liked your social media page, and now you're giving them content to do with that subject that they're likely to find engaging. So, key question, how to convert these people into online donors, into people who donate to you via your local giving page or via whatever online donation platform you're using. So it's worth thinking again that this is sort of the third step in our supporter journey. They've liked your page, they've discovered your network online, they've started to engage with the content, and now it's time to ask them to invest. So always launch campaigns of interesting content. Again, use photos or videos. So this is a good example of a group in Wokingham putting out their Christmas lunch appeal and showing, very happy smiley photos of their service users enjoying the lunch last year. Always include a link to your local giving page or whatever page you're using to collect the donations. Nothing worse than convincing someone to donate but not giving them the link to where they go to make the donation. So always include that. Another good example over on the right is Tomorrow's Women, who are showing like a before and after shot of the fundraising campaign they did. So this woman obviously pledged to shave her head for the charity, and they're having a sort of before and after photo that's really eye-catching and would definitely catch their followers' attention on social media. And again, including that link to where they go and make a donation. Another good way to ask people to donate online is via newsletter. So always remember that only a small percentage are ever going to see your social media posts. It's always a numbers game. A good way to up that is to develop a newsletter. You can do it for free on sites like MailChimp. This is another one from Charity Email Gallery, but it's really quick and easy to set up a newsletter that you send out to your supporters every couple of weeks or every couple of months. And that's a key opportunity for you to ask people to donate. So that's just an example of a group on Local Giving who do that. Make sure you always acknowledge your supporters. So thank people publicly, use your social media accounts to thank people, start tagging them in things if they're willing to be tagged in, do general shouts out to everybody who's donated, share interesting content about what the money will go towards, so like what the projects it will fund and photos of the day trip that it may have funded. Just try and make sure that you're sharing your achievements, keeping everyone up to date of what you've raised so far, and then showing them the impact of where their money is going. As I said, always say thank you. Here's a couple of examples you could look at later of people who just put out general thank yous, but also over on the right, thanks to the people who helped them out with their campaigns. Thank yous to the people who may have done a fundraising challenge for them. So the Fawcett Society are thanking Nick, and Nixie up at the top there is thanking all the organizations who helped them out. And as I said, if you make that supporter experience really enjoyable, you'll get them to that final stage where they really endorse your organization. They'll make a donation and then they'll ask their own friends and family to make a donation. So this is just some examples of people who made donations and then retweeted it and asked their own friends and family, reaching new networks for you and sort of subtly encouraging your own friends and family to make a donation too. So the more of that you can do, the better. The more you can sort of make that supporter journey enjoyable for your supporters, the more times that they're going to endorse your organization online and the more people you're going to reach. These are the sort of people who are ideal to ask to do fundraising campaigns and to get involved with your organization as volunteers down the line as well. So just try and think of it as a journey. It's not all just about getting people to make a donation and then sort of leaving it at that. You're trying to make the experience as enjoyable as possible so that they'll want to get involved and invest their time and resource in it in the long run. So that's really it. I just wanted to go through some information about local giving for some of the groups on the webinar to see if you are interested in joining. If you join Local Giving, we're more than just a donation platform. We are specifically tailored towards local charities and give a lot of help to our groups around social media resources, giving different tips and guides, and providing templates for press releases, newsletters, and emails. If you're not a member of Local Giving at the moment, you can join now as a member of the FSI for free. So we have a partnership with the FSI where you get free membership through them. All you have to do is go to join.localgiving.org/FSI, and when you're joining, you can skip the payment section by using the promo code FSI 2017. If you join Local Giving, you'll get a page where you can receive one-time and monthly donations online. You'll get access to all of our match funding campaigns. That's where we double donations that you receive different times of the year. You'll be able to run crowdfunding style appeal pages. You'll be able to have an unlimited amount of people set up fundraising pages for you, and you'll be able to have one-to-one support via our help desk and our team of fundraisers. We also provide some reports for your marketing and finance team, so for the treasurer or for the person who sends out your newsletter. They can download reports with information about your donors and the contact information so that you can follow up with them. So as I said, just go to join.localgiving.org/FSI. This is the screen that you'll see. Just use that promo code FSI 2017. That will give you 1 year's free membership. It's subject to the eligibility, so you have to be a local charity operating in the UK, and you'll get everything that normal Local Giving members get, including the access to our match fund campaigns. So this webinar was paid for by the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. They have a large training contract which is being delivered by the FSI together with their partners, and that includes Local Giving. So I'd really encourage groups to go to the FSI website, have a look at all the different training opportunities in the various cities and regions throughout the country. There's workshops, telephone advice services, 30-minute webinars, longer, hour-and-a-half long webinars. It's a really amazing training contract that the FSI are delivering. As I said, it's all been financed with the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. It's a brilliant opportunity for the sector, so try and make sure you get the most of those free and subsidized training sessions. It really is an amazing opportunity, so I encourage everyone to take part. So that's sort of it for the webinar. We covered social media and why it's important. We've covered how to identify common interests for your supporters online, how to discover new networks online, how to drive engagement online, how to convert your online donors into supporters, and then we went through some information about local giving. So I'm sorry for the mishap with the webinar link that was sent out. So if anyone does want to call in to talk about anything about sort of any of the topics we've discussed today, please feel free to give us a call on 0300 111 2340 or email us at help@localgiving.org. If anyone has any questions now, they're welcome to put them in the chat on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks, guys. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, guys, thanks for coming along. As I said, please feel free to get in contact, and if you're not a member of Local Giving, just so you know, you can join now for free. So now is the time to join up with that promo code FSI 2017. I believe that the FSI will email you, Claire. I think they may ask for feedback, and then the slides will be made available to you. But I'm going to send it to them, and then they're going to make it available for you. Okay? No problem. All right, guys. Thanks.